Thank you for tuning into the Island Treasures podcast. We value the insights shared by our guests and hosts, but it's important to note that their personal experiences are intended to inform and encourage, and not to replace professional, legal, or medical advice. With that, we are ready for today's exciting episode. Welcome to Island Treasures, a place for caregivers to hear encouragement from other caregivers who, by sharing their experiences, offer helpful information and resources for your caregiving journey. This podcast is brought to you by Alongside Caregiver Consulting, and I am your host and caregiver consultant, Alison Van Schie from beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Today we have the privilege of hearing from a successful businesswoman whose compelling caregiving experiences include navigating her son's care following his autism diagnosis and her daughter's care following a sports-related injury. My guest cared for her children, who are now both adults, with a remarkable blend of resilience and creativity. Then, just a few years ago, there was a significant shift in her caregiving journey, which is proving to be a game changer for both her and her nonverbal son. It was the introduction of spelling to communicate. So join me now as I welcome Lori Rogers to share her inspiring story that so beautifully intertwines business acumen and caregiving, and expounds on spelling to communicate. Welcome, Lori Rogers, as a guest on the Island Treasures podcast. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison, for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Yeah, we had a great warm-up conversation about a month ago already, and it was very enjoyable. So I expect great things today in our conversation, Lori.
Thank you. Me too.
I start my podcast by my guests sharing their caregiving story. So let's start with your caregiving story.
Okay, sure. So my first daughter was born in 1989. So I feel like my caregiving story started then when I was a new mom. And, typical baby was wonderful and exhausting, but wonderful. And then in 1991, Craig was born. And all seemed well and going well and all was cool, but then he wasn't hitting markers and such. And in 1993, he was 2.5, he was diagnosed with autism. But back then, they didn't call it that. They called it PDD-NOS, which means not otherwise specified, or I should say pervasive developmental order, not otherwise. And so back then, try to find anything at the remember there's no internet quite yet, at the library or anything, books on PDD. It was like, what the heck is this? And so that took me about 6 months to figure out, oh, you mean it's autism? Oh, right. Okay. So then that totally shifted my husband and I, our caregiving story or journey or life. It was, we became OTs, PTs, speech therapists, that's occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, teachers, nurses, doctors. We became, and mom, and we became all of these titles because there was so much that went into helping him to do well, to function well, to get better, because I believe he wasn't born this way. This happened to him over a series of events in his young little life. And I wanted to heal him. I wanted to help him to be the best he could. And of course, to speak, that was the big thing. He wasn't speaking. And so we did many different therapies. Oh my gosh. I want to say hundreds. It may not have been hundreds, but it feels like it was. Different paths we took, different journeys we took, different hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent on different modalities to help him, medically and otherwise, inside the box and outside the box, put it that way. So the caregiving journeys, which started in 1993, was something, you're not trained for that. We didn't really know what we were doing. The doctor was really were like, yeah, we're not sure. But go try it if you want. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. If it's not hurting him, I'm going to try it. And then I had our third child in 1994, which was, a blessing for Craig and for Amanda, my oldest daughter, because he added some levity and he always treated Craig like a typical sibling. Stole the remote from him, or tried to, made him pitch wiffle balls to him, made him chase him, and just like a typical little younger brother would. So that was wonderful. I would say, we did the best we could. I would say, actually, let me take it back a little bit. When he was 3, we started a 501c3 called Parents Assisting Special Educators, PACE, PASE. We found that the special needs programs in the public schools were sort of like, I don't know, team B or C, maybe not team A when it comes to the schools or to the PTOs and things like that. I'm like, well, wait a minute, then time out. Let's raise money to help fund the supplies, the training, the other things that the special education teachers need, the OTs need, the speech therapists need, whatever they need, we can plan it, we can buy it. So what we did, the very first thing we did when Craig was like 3.5, he was doing sensory integration, which is an occupational therapist modality. And there were special swings and ball pits and balls and all kinds of cool tools that you needed to do sensory integration. And the OT said, well, Lori, we don't have any of this stuff. I go, all right. So Neil and I researched it. It was going to cost like $3,500 to purchase all the equipment and outfit a room. And in our first fundraiser, we raised that and more. And we created the OT room for his first preschool that he was in. And it's still there today. And now every single school has a OT sensory room.
Wow.
Because it's common practice now. Back then it wasn't. So when was that? That was in 1994, 95 when we did that. So with Parents Assisting Special Educators, we always wanted to support his team and the school's team. So not just in our town, but in neighboring towns as well. It just made us feel better to not, complain and moan and demand and want and need, which, I mean, honestly, I still demanded a lot, but which made us feel better to show, wait, we're in this with you. We're helping you. We're a team here. So, it made the process much smoother and easier. And I feel like they felt like we weren't just asking, but we were also giving and doing.
Yeah. You were providing solutions, and you were funding for the special equipment that was required. And now what a trendsetter you were. You've gotten all these rooms in all these schools, and it didn't just benefit Craig.
No, it didn't just benefit Craig. Right. So for 18 years, we did that while he was going through public school, and it was amazing. The teachers were so grateful. They would ask for things like Velcro. That's somebody's communication tool, is the Velcroing pictures or words and things like that. So they needed things like Velcro or software or training. We helped out the paraprofessionals that were working one-on-one with the kids. It was really a great program, and that just made us feel good to do it. And all the while doing everything we needed to do for our other children as well, and for Craig. And it was a lot. I don't even remember most of it, honestly. Like now Craig's 33. And when I think back, I'm like, wow, how did we do that all? I have no idea.
How did you do that?
And how did we do it all? And I was thinking, I don't know. And what would it have been like to have 3 typical kids? Would I have been just as busy? Probably. There were times that I'd sit and say, oh man, you wonder what someone else's life is like, right? Or well, maybe it would be so much better, easier if it was this or that or this. And it's like, then you snap out of it and you say, no, that's silliness. I would never trade this. And I didn't come to that realization until later on. We talked about a little bit more of a shift in my caregiving journey in 2011. when my daughter suffered a head injury playing lacrosse. And she was in college. She was a senior in college and got hit in the head with a stick. We didn't think it was anything awful, but it turned out to be a concussion, a pretty serious concussion. She had post-concussion syndrome, which is where you have extensive, I guess it would say symptoms for a longer time is post-concussion. So she had to leave school, leave her apartment, leave her team, her friends. She couldn't drive. She couldn't watch TV. She couldn't use her computer, her phone. She came home. I was like, oh, wow. This is different because this is my typical, amazing, beautiful, capable, smart daughter that now needs our help. And it was, it was hard to sort of figure out, well, how is the best way to help her? So that navigation was funky for Neil and I. But what ended up happening, because she's so amazing, she started to learn different modalities to help herself through meditation, through mindfulness, through healthier eating, changing her diet and her lifestyle. And because she couldn't drive, she asked me to take her to a wellness fair one afternoon. This is in probably 2012. So sure. So we drove to the wellness fair right here in Nashua. And I'm walking around, I'm just looking at the booths, and I see different books on mindfulness and you are what you think, things like that, changing your mindset and changing your thoughts and your beliefs to change your life, healing yourself. I was like, what are they talking about? I had never heard these things before. She knew, and that's why she wanted to go. So I picked up a few books and brought them home. I started to read, and I was like, oh, wow, this is cool stuff. And I learned about changing your mindset to change your life technically, and raising your vibration, your energy to be more positive and optimistic. Because when you do that, one of the huge benefits to that is your mind is open and you're allowing in cool new ideas to come to you. When you're fearful and worried and anxious, right? You're blocking all those great ideas from flowing into your brain. And that's one of the many benefits of doing that. So at that time in 2011 or 2012, we were transitioning Craig from high school into the adult world, which was quite the navigation. So we were worried about that, anxious about that. Oh my gosh. And as you know, young people with autism sometimes are not great transitioners. And we were always worried about that. And I was like, oh boy. So I feel like that transition for me of helping me to lose this fear, lose the worry, break down the anxiety, and just stay as positive and joyful as I can. It's not just going to help me, but it will help the ideas flow to help Craig and to help Amanda and Cam in their journey, and help myself. Yeah. So
very timely to learn those
very
lessons.
timely. Yes.
And it came through a tragic accident with your daughter,
Yes.
and acquired brain injury. Those are significant events.
Yes. We'll say she is totally healed, and she did go back to school the following year. And she's doing fabulous. She's healthy and well and living a fabulous life. So then what happened, talk about caregiving. Now my next phase in caregiving is in 2022. No, it was 2021. A friend of Neil's suggested he read the book Underestimated. My nephew in New Jersey is doing this program that's so helpful, and my nephew's communicating now. It's amazing. So Neil ordered the book Underestimated from Amazon, and the box comes. I open it up, I pull out the book, and it says Underestimated, and the tagline is An Autism Miracle. I went, never heard that before, darn it. So I took the book, I put it on the coffee table. I said, well, I'll let Neil read it first and see what he thinks. And it sat there for about 6 months or so. And I had gone to see a new functional medicine doctor right here in Nashua. And I ran into her office to say hey. And she's like, Lori, the first thing she says to me when I sit down, have you read Underestimated? I'm like, oh, no, but
Wow.
I will tonight.
Yep, yep.
So I went home, I read the book, and um, I was like, oh my gosh, this is our story. The book is about a young man and his dad, and how they also were very reluctant to try it. Spelling to Communicate is the program, um, because the young people can't speak because they have apraxia. So the messages from their motor cortex to their mouth are getting disrupted and not getting here. So what happens is, instead of teaching the young people to speak, which is a very fine motor activity, the creator said, okay, well, fine, then we'll put it into pointing to letters on a letterboard to spell out words so that they can communicate through spelling. So it's spelling to communicate. And we took Craig to a practitioner in Rhode Island, and he just started doing it and could spell. He already is brilliant, so he could spell, but the information that is in his brain is overwhelming, and he knows so much. Just for instance, we were doing a lesson on the eclipse that's coming, and so you read a lesson to the student or the young person. You ask questions of them about the text that's in the lesson. And then they spell out the answers. Well, they know because you just taught it to them. You just read it to them. What's really cool is that when you ask a prior knowledge question. So we read in the text that the atmosphere around the sun is called corona, Corona. I said, well, Craig, what in your life, do you know something else that's called corona? And he spells out beer.
Yeah.
No, he's never had a beer in his life. And how he knew, he just knows.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's cool. Isn't that fun? I go, what do some people put in their corona? Lime, Lime, spelled that out. I said, well, who in your family do you know that drinks beer? Dad. And he spells out Dad. So what's so cool is just unlocking this amazing human so that he is able to show us what he knows, what his goals are, what his desires are, what he wants to be in life, what he wants to do, what he wants to eat for dinner, for crying out loud. Like, I'm always just guessing. Now he can tell me.
So you had become an expert in reading him, not knowing exactly what he was thinking or what he wanted, but you became an expert in deciphering.
Yes, I made a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
Yes. Which isn't always great, because he told me he hates green beans. I used to give him green beans all the time. I'm like, okay, okay, gong the green beans. Good to know.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Aw, poor guy having to
I
eat green
know.
beans all of his life.
I mean, when he
Oh,
ate
Mom.
them, he probably was like, oh, geez, I better eat these and Mom's gonna get mad. I don't know, but he always eats them. So that now there's so much we want for him, because he listed out all these goals and things he wants to accomplish, which of course we want to help support him to accomplish these things. So now we're like, okay, but I want it all for him tomorrow.
Right.
And now my challenge, I feel like our challenge now, or my challenge too, is, okay, calm down, baby steps, a step at a time, and things will progress as they're supposed to. That's what I say.
But you're excited. You
Oh, yes.
are so excited that there's this new lease on life for him and for
Yes.
you.
Yes, I am. We are. Yes.
So you do want to do it
Yes.
all for
Oh,
him.
so that's the
with
story I
him.
was going to tell you. Yesterday, two of our nieces came over yesterday, who Craig hasn't seen in years. And they came over, sat down and said, oh, Craig, can you spell out their names for me? And he spelled them out, Elizabeth and Megan. And I asked him, who is Megan's dad? By the way, Craig has never met him. And he spelled out Uncle Leo. And I asked who are Elizabeth's mom and dad, Aunt Joanne, Uncle Dennis. And I just keep reiterating to my family and to his siblings, he's known you all along. All along, he's known you. He's been listening. He just doesn't have a way to socialize with you or to engage with you, but all along he's been there, which is beautiful, beautiful. And this is the cool thing. I want other parents to know your little 4-year-old, your 5-year-old, your 6, 7, 8-year-olds, they're listening, they're with you, they're paying attention. They know you, they know their siblings, even though they may never even go up to them to try to play with them or look away, or it looks like they're not listening. They really are. They really, really are. And they know their grandparents and where their grandparents live. That's what I want parents to know as well.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's a great sentiment to share with those
Yes.
parents.
Yeah.
And so how did the visit go with his cousins yesterday?
Great. Yes. I asked him, Elizabeth, his one cousin, used to babysit when Neil and I would take a night away or a weekend away and a day away. And I asked him, what was your favorite activity to do with Elizabeth? And he said, running. I said, well, where were you running? And he said, in our yard. And Elizabeth reiterated a story where he just took off, like he left the house and he was playing outside. And she ran after him to go get him because he didn't have shoes on or anything. And she's chasing him outside, running around in our yard. And so he loved that. I thought that was so funny and a great activity. She was mad. Like she was, oh my God, he's going to run away. I mean, he would never run away, but she just didn't want him outside by himself in bare feet in the snow. So, yeah. So he remembers those. He remembered that story, and that event. So it was very nice.
We learn to use open-ended questions all the time. You have to learn the opposite now. You have to train your brain to ask only closed-answered questions. Yes or no, or short answers.
Yes.
So that's different.
It's very different. The only time I do ask open-ended questions, for instance, and I mean, there's kind of a finite choices, what do you want to eat for dinner? There's only so many things, but it is open-ended. One of his goals is to get his GED. I didn't even know he knew what a GED was, but he spelled out GED. I said, well, why do you want a GED? And he spelled out, I want to help other non-speaking children, which blew me away. That he's aware that there's other non-speakers in the world. He's aware there's young children that are in his predicament, and he wants to help them. So, I mean, you could do that now without a GED, but he knows he wants a higher education. He wants to take college classes. So see what I mean about all these goals he has?
Yeah, no, that's
we
beautiful.
have to figure out how to get there. Right.
But he knows probably what the statistic that I just learned was, that there are 31 million non-speaking folks with autism.
I know. It was estimated that in the state of Pennsylvania, there's 70,000 non-speaking people, not just on the autistic spectrum, but with Down syndrome or other disabilities that are non-speaking.
That's a lot. He's got a big task ahead.
He sure does. He sure does. So I used to, when those days where you sit and you feel sorry for yourself and you're, oh man, what is happening? Why is this happening to me? Why can't he just be talking? Why can't it be different? And then I realized, oh, okay. Through my studies and through my reading and through our mindfulness, it's like, oh, this is happening for me and for Craig for a reason. And I read a book about, I wonder if I have that book. It's a beautiful book of an autistic young woman who told her mom, I was supposed to come into the world this way to help you and to teach you. And after I read that book, I thought, oh boy, that's probably his sentiment too, to me. I haven't asked him, but I should probably ask, but I'm speaking for him right now. But this experience is for me, not happening to me. And it's for me to be an advocate, to spread the word, to teach me to be calmer and to take things day at a time and not rush so much and be patient. There's many lessons I've learned, I would say, from that caregiving journey. Yeah.
That's a lesson for all of us. Like we all need to slow down. We all need to be more focused and purposeful in what we're doing and not rush.
Right.
You've got a huge task ahead of you as well, just to impart that wisdom.
I know, and here I am, but most people are retiring now. Not most, but a few of my friends, I'm like, retiring, there's so much to be done. Now that I know this, how can I not speak about it, advocate for it? We're going to do another screening next month.
Okay, so let's talk about that because we haven't mentioned that yet. So,
Okay.
There is a documentary called Spellers,
Yes.
and I have watched the trailer. I haven't seen the whole documentary yet, but I was really excited to watch a clip that was about you and your husband actually bringing in a screening for folks, and you paid for the documentary to be shown to them. And now I hear you're doing it again. So talk
Yeah.
about that, Lori.
So there's a local company here in Nashua, and what they wanted to do for the month of April, because it is Autism Awareness Month, is do something around autism, a special event or something. And my Gwen, who is one of my contacts there, she says, Lori, remember last year you mentioned this movie and this documentary? I said, oh yeah, it's still out there if you'd like to show it. Because I really want to do an autism night where you can come in, talk about your experience, show the movie, show the documentary, and then have Q&A afterward. I'm like, yes, of course, let's book that. So it's not in writing yet, but we think it's going to be at the end of April, April 30th, actually. And the two that we did in 2023, we had about 100 people at each one. People were stunned, honestly, and speechless, but many questions. There were teachers there, parents there, children there. And we also had a practitioner on the panel. So the attendees got to ask questions of me and of the practitioner, which was lovely. It was, yeah. So just spreading the word. It's just spreading the word. And then once everyone knows someone that is a non-speaker, so then they tell that parent, oh, you've got to read this book. You've got to go on this, website and get information and find a practitioner. So back in 2022, when we started with our practitioners, none in New Hampshire, none in Massachusetts. There were 2 in training, but not anyone ready yet. So the only one we could find was in Rhode Island. Now there's 2 or 3 in New Hampshire that are certified and trained, and we use a practitioner in New Hampshire. There's several in Massachusetts now. I'm not sure how many there are in Rhode Island, but there's a site you can go to find out. So the word is spreading. It's out there. Men and women are getting trained to be able to do this. There's a very specific training modality you have to go through. It takes about 6 months to get trained, but the practitioners train the parents because your child is with you most. So they want the child not only to be able to communicate with the practitioner, but with the people they live with, which is so important. And they'll train you to work with your child. And here's the cool part. I know of oh my gosh, 6 or 7 off the top of my head, adult non-speakers that are spelling to communicate, that have their own blogs, their own websites, their own 501c3s where they're raising money for other non-speakers to get lessons. A lesson runs anywhere from $85 to $150 an hour, depending on where you live. So these young people who are so compassionate and amazing and generous are raising money and advocating so that they can give scholarships to other parents and non-speakers so they can get some lessons for their kid. They don't want money to be the barrier,
Because there's been enough barriers.
Right.
So, Lori, I'm not familiar with a 501c3. I'm not, is that
sure.
an American?
So
funding?
that's a tax code. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's a tax exempt organization.
Oh, okay.
Foundations, I should say. So
Okay.
tax exempt foundations. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. That's huge. They're taking away the barrier of not having the funds perhaps to afford the practitioner and the time.
Right. They're writing books. They have blogs. I have several books here on my bookshelf that were written by non-speaking autistic people that are spelling to communicate. And letter by letter, word by word, they either spelled out their book, or the next step after spelling and pointing to letters is typing on a keyboard and then having your iPad or your computer speak for you, which is one of Craig's goals. He would love to, but that's a really intricate motor skill, is typing. So your brain has to get really good at telling your fingers what to do. I look at it this way. I'm not teaching Craig that much. He already knows a lot of the information we're reading together and learning together. It's teaching him to find the letters on the board.
Right.
Teaching them motor planning. You're myelating new pathways in their brain.
So an adaptive keyboard is probably what would be really beneficial. So is there such a thing?
The keyboard stands up on a stand, and the non-speaker just uses their finger. Some non-speakers use one finger and spell out what they need or what they want. In the documentary, you'll see several spellers, maybe two, using a keyboard. Most use the stencil board. And that's totally cool. If that's what you need to do, that's fine. I don't know if it's an adaptive keyboard. It's just a keyboard, one that you might have on your desk. It's just up on a stand.
Okay.
No. The stencils are in alphabetical order, right? Across.
Not like
The
a keyboard.
keyboards are not. Our
No.
keyboards are not. It would be cool
Yeah.
if someone created a keyboard that was in alphabetical order. It'd be easier, probably, for us all to find the letters.
Not us who learned typing in high school.
Oh,
No,
no.
we're gonna have to reprogram our brains
So
yet
do you
again.
remember in high school when you were learning to type?
Yeah.
And it took practice and practice and practice because you had to tell your finger where to go to get the J. Tell your finger where to go to get the, the K. That's what we're doing with our non-speakers. We're myelating and myelating and myelating so that hand can go right up to that A, or right up to the C, or right in the middle to the M. That's what we're doing. So we're teaching them a mode of communication.
That up until 2022 you didn't know about.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there sounds like a lot more hope. And like I said, the excitement comes through, but hope, like you see his future now in a different way.
Yes. Yes, we do. And so does he. And he sees the future in a different way. Can you imagine being trapped in this brain for, 28 years and being in high school, being taught, I don't know, simple addition when he can do algebra 1? He's doing algebra 1 with me. Can you imagine? And then we wonder why they have temper tantrums, or why he was flapping, or why he was jumping up and down. Well, that's why. Now I know why. He couldn't say, oh my gosh, stop teaching me 2 + 3.
Yeah. You said our assumption is because there's nonverbal communication, there's nothing going on, but there's a lot going on. And he knew all along that he knew all these things.
Yes. Yes. We did a lesson on JFK, and just out of the blue, I asked him, how did JFK's son die? And he spelled out, in a plane crash.
Yeah.
So Craig was 8 when that happened. When did he learn that? How did he know that? Where did he hear me talking about it?
But he retained it, and
yes,
at the appropriate time, he told you that's how he died.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you talk about struggles in caregiving. What would have been your biggest struggle, do you think, Lori?
I would say currently, and I guess through the years, it was finding good direct support people to work as their one-on-one aides during the day. I mean, when you're in school, through the school district, you get your paraprofessionals. Even now, they're having trouble finding the right people to do that work. Now that we're in the adult world and you're trying to find someone to work with your child, your adult child, every day, 6-7 hours a day, since COVID, that's really been a struggle. And that has been our challenge, is finding, we do have someone who is wonderful. The agency that that Craig is they're understaffed, and it's difficult. So I would say the challenge now is where's that workforce? Where are those people? And incentivizing them, increasing their pay, thinking of different new ideas, which we have thought of some cool new things to do to help recruit more people and to help them to stay. Because it is a rewarding job. Mom's hours, like think about the benefits of it really, in the job, as opposed to, oh, I'm only making that, so, I think that's one of the challenges. And I think another challenge too is to look at yourself or me as a caregiver and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. He's doing great. You're doing all you can to help him. So to stop and realize that, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, all is well. All is well. Things are always working out for me. That's what I have that up on my vision board. Things are always working out for me. And I would say too, another challenge, if Craig, which they're less and less now, but if Craig does have a bad day, to not let that emotion or sadness or frustration or fear, it's usually fear, take me into the ditch. Like just with the mindfulness training that I've done and keeping in a higher vibration and in a higher joy level, let's say, I'll go down a couple notches. I'm not going to lie. I'll go down and be like, oh, what is happening? What's going on? What's wrong? What else can I do? What can we, for a few hours, I'll feel that. And I'll go, no, it's okay. I'm learning something here. Behavior is communication. What is he trying to tell us? And now that he can communicate on the board, the next day when he's fine and happy and smiling and feeling good, I can ask him, what went on yesterday? Do you want to talk to me about that? Was there something we could do to help you? So yes, so initially it's trying to just sort of turn that fear or worry when he does have a bad day. And it's hard to do that in the moment, but I just keep telling myself, it's okay. We're going to learn from this. We'll make it better the next time. Whatever it was that bugged him, we can figure it out and we'll fix it. So we never could fix it before because I could never had a mode to communicate with him. So,
But
yeah.
you nailed it though. You said you're doing the best you can. You are
Yeah.
only human. He is only
Right.
human. You are a superhero because you are a caregiver, but you are human and you feel those dejections, you feel those emotions, and you feed off his emotions. That's only normal. But you are doing the best that you can.
Thank you. Maybe I need to put that up on my vision board.
Well, I think those were your words earlier on.
That's right.
No.
I need to add that. Yeah, I think those are the challenges that we work through. Yeah.
Well, and I know educational assistants is what we call them here that are in the school system. They have to be special people to make that connection when they're dealing with folks with special needs. And not all of them are. And you nailed it too when you said, is that all I'm getting? If they're looking at just the paycheck,
Right.
it's more than that. When you're dealing with someone's life, it's more than that. And I believe there are special people that are in those roles.
Oh my gosh, I do too. I feel like the marketing and PR around these positions should be, that you want to give back to your community. You want to work 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, no weekends. You want to really improve the life of a disabled person and their family. I feel like many of them have told me, the direct support people have told me they get more out of it than they think their client does. I mean, when Craig was in school and we had the foundation, we did a lot of things to support the paraprofessionals. We would have breakfast for them.
Aww.
We would pay them to come in early for an hour to meet with their teachers because you don't get a chance to do that during the day. We knew they were an integral part of the program. They were the ones teaching our kids. The teachers managing everybody, but the paraprofessionals there one-on-one.
Yeah.
So I think the marketing and the PR around that position, and I will say in New Hampshire, they are doing a lot to advocate the state to raise that pay scale, that pay scale. So that's good.
No, that is
Good news
awesome
here.
that
Yeah.
you saw that and marketed and did fantastic things to help them with their role, help them to be
Yeah.
part of the team,
Yes.
of the educational team, like, and that instills in them a worth that they need as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So those were your struggles. Now,
Yeah.
you've talked about some takeaways, especially when with your daughter and learning about mindfulness and mindset. And what else have you learned through your caregiving journey? I mean, you have actually talked about a lot of things, but
Um, I have learned that I would say it's okay to take a break because I would be like, no, no, we can't go away, or no, no, we can't go away for the weekend. I'm gonna lose progress, especially with the spelling, once the spelling to communicate started. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Mhm.
Craig needs a break from me and from us as much as I need a break from doing it. And I think that was really a huge lesson for me to learn it because we did go away last weekend and we were away, in February, and we come back at it on Monday and he's right where he was. And to know that it's okay to go fill your cup, per se, to have more fun, to have joy in your life, see friends and do fun things. Remember one time I was spelling with Craig and he spelled out smile more. I said, well, oh, that's cute. Who do you want to smile more? MOM. Like, okay. Like, oh gosh, okay, you're right. So to to just relax, for me to relax and have more fun and see the joy and have fun with him, play games. I put on the basketball games for him yesterday, the NCAA games, and not every waking moment has to be, oh no, we have to do this therapy, we have to do this. It doesn't have to be that. You can give the child a break, the young adult a break, myself a break. It's okay. So that's something new that I try to bring into our lives. Although I will say my husband Neil, all through growing up with the kids growing up, at least, and he would like pull me out of the house, but every quarter we'd go away for the weekend. Even if it was just 24, 36 hours, just to get out of the house and get away. And the kids needed a break and we did too. And I would say that was a great thing to learn and to realize that everything worked out fine and everyone lived to talk about it and it worked out great. So that would be one thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you've spoken about a lot already.
Hmm.
And so thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So, Lori, I think it would be a great opportunity now to talk a little bit about your business. How does your business complement your caregiving?
Right. Yes. My business, so our positive activity business, which is speaking and I Zoom with teams and things like that, I would say it complements my lifestyle because I want to I want to shout it from the rooftop, right? Look where I was, this worrisome kind of worry wart type person that blah, blah, blah. Like, that. If I could do this, you all can too. And I want people to know, just try. Like, if you all could stay in a more joyful, positive, higher vibration, I call it your happiness level is higher, then you're more productive. You sell more, you live longer, you're more resistant to disease, new ideas flow in well. So it goes hand in hand to my caregiving journey because, oh, wait a minute. It's not just about the business and selling more, being more productive, but it's also helping my family and my children because I'm thinking of new ideas. New ideas flow because you're at a higher vibration. So it all goes hand in hand. So we have a marketing business called Rogers Marketing, which is fabulous, and it allowed me to always work from home, Neil and I own it. So we don't have a boss. We have no one else to answer to but ourselves. I was always around for volunteering at school or taking Craig where he needed to go, or Cam or Amanda for that matter. So the business worked hand in hand with my family life. Now more than ever. Now it's like ridiculously easy with Zooming and email and all of that jazz. It's like it's easy and it's fun. And it's fun. So there's like sort of a two-pronged business thing here, right? So we've got our Rogers marketing and our promotional product business, but we also have our positive activity business, which is these are things that you can do. The things that you can do every day are free to raise your vibration, to raise your joy level, to raise your happiness level. Do you want to know what they are? What I do every day?
Tell me.
Okay, I'll tell you what they are. So I want everyone to know this. It's just so easy. So it's the first thing I do is I get up and I look in the mirror and I give myself a high five and I say something nice to myself, because if you don't do that to yourself, you might not get anything all day. No one may, you never know, right? So I read a book. It's a great book. It's a great read. It's easy to read. It's The High Five Habit from Mel Robbins. Really fun book. There's scientific research behind it, and it's just so fun. So that's the first thing I do. Then I sit, and these are all scientifically proven activities. That's why we call it positive activity. The first thing is I write down 3 new things that I appreciate that day. That's something that happened in the last 24 hours, or something in my life that I appreciate that I haven't talked about before. Because our brains are wired to look for danger, danger, warning, warning, war, strife, snowstorm, whatever, whatever. So we're training our brain to look for the things you appreciate. So it gets used to looking at beautiful, great things in your life. It could be as simple as, oh, I so appreciate this glass water bottle. It's awesome. It keeps my water clean and healthy. And why? So you say what you appreciate and why. That's second thing. Third thing is called conscious recall. So you think about something that happened in the last 24 hours that brought you joy or made you smile, because your brain doesn't know whether it's happening live or it happened in the past. It thinks it's happening live. So when you visualize the thing that made you happy, the thing that made you smile, and you see it in your brain, you visualize it for a few minutes and you think about it, your brain thinks it's happening again. So all those joyful chemicals just flow through your body all over again, which is kind of cool. Next thing I do is I meditate for at least 5 minutes and just sit and breathe. Some days I listen to a meditation on my phone. Some days I have a mantra that I say for 5 minutes. It just depends what I'm feeling that day. And then there's at least 30 minutes of movement a day. And what's the last thing? I had another. Oh, yes. It is, I guess I would call it conscious act of kindness. It's not random at all, where you send a text or an email to someone in your life that you really appreciate, and you tell them you do, and you tell them why. A phone call is awesome too. In the research, it's interesting that in the research, it's shown that a text message has more of an impact than any other form of communication. I don't know why, but a text message of appreciation has the biggest impact. So it's about what's fabulous. So that's the other thing I do. So a conscious act of kindness. It could be buying someone's coffee, in the Starbucks line. It could be calling a coach or emailing a coach that you had, or your child's teacher, or someone in your life that you appreciate. And once you send that, you feel so good about yourself, right? For sending that. That person feels really good and it comes back to you. Then they may do it for someone else.
Yeah.
And you've created this ripple effect of joy and appreciation.
Yeah. And
So
kindness.
those are like my top 5 things that I do every day.
Cool.
Or was that 6? I'm not sure. It's like brushing your teeth. I can't even start my day without doing it. It's become a habit and I can't move on. So it puts me in a great place in the morning,
Right. I think the text impacts people because you can go back and read it.
Oh, yeah.
I reread texts. especially positive ones. So,
Yeah.
what services do you offer through both of your businesses that would relate well to caregivers?
The positive activity, the caregivers, I think, can learn these little activities that are scientifically proven to help raise your happiness level, and raise your joy and your calmness and drop that fear and anxiety level, I think are paramount to a caregiver's life for them to know and to try. So that when things happen, if your happiness level is up here, you're feeling good and doing the best you can every day, and something happens and you go down a few notches, it's okay. You've built up resiliency to get back up because you've done these activities. You've trained your brain. You can switch off of negativity. No, this is going to be okay. I have the people around me. I'll make a phone call. I'll figure out what to do to make this better. Like, I think it's paramount for caregivers to have the resilience. Yes, the happiness resilience, and raise their happiness level. Absolutely.
So before you found this way of thinking and behaving yourself, how did you manage caregiving? Or you just were in it?
Good question, because you're in it and you're in it and you're just doing it. And like, I had a husband that would drag me out of the house and go do fun things, which was a good thing. I still have that husband, by the way, that way. And I had two other typical kids that were just so fun and amazing. I had neighbors and family that were supportive and great and fun, and friends in the community. And we did PACE, which helped us to feel better, to do fun things. But I think I was kind of doing it all along without having put a label on it.
That's very cool.
But once I learned that, oh, no, there's scientific research behind all this cool stuff. You can take it even further and even higher. So in the end, when I think prior to 2012, I was probably always doing it, but not to the extent that I am now. Yes.
That's interesting that you were doing it all along, and then now you know what you were doing.
More in a low-key way.
Yeah.
But I think also for caregivers to have that support group around you. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Your friends that have typical kids, so you just have fun talking typical stuff, right? And I always, try to take my other children out and do things with them without Craig. And having that sort of the people around you are so important too. Yeah.
So a support team, support group. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you never went to a support group per se.
The only support group I attended was the Autism Society of New Hampshire early on, but many of those parents had older kids, and my child was so much younger, and we were kind of in a different place. So a lot of the research I did and things I did were not part of a support group, but just other parents I knew that were doing things. Because autism parents tend to listen to other autism parents and get ideas and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my experience with support groups is that the caregivers in the support group are the best resource for the other caregivers.
Yeah.
But you found it wasn't really meeting your needs because of the different age of the children.
Right.
But you did have enough supports in other ways to really support you and buoy you up. So
right, definitely, yes.
So Lori, we are wrapping up a little bit now. So how can folks reach you through social media or through your websites?
Sure. So I am on Facebook. Our website is positiveactivity.net. So that's the positive activity side of us. Rogmark, ROGMARK.net is our marketing company. on that end of it. Yes, I am on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Lori Rogers, MA. By the way, I have a master's degree in math, which is unusual, but I do.
Yeah, that was going to be your personal tidbit. That's awesome. I surprise people.
They're like, what? You do?
Yeah.
But you have a personality. I'm like, oh my gosh, stop it. It's terrible. Yeah, so I'm on Lori Coyne Rogers on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, Lori A. Rogers 3. Yeah, so many different ways.
That's great. And I'm sure you would welcome folks contacting you through your website.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So any final word of encouragement for the listeners today, Lori?
I would say take your arms, spread them out, wrap them around yourself, and give yourself a great big hug and a big fat, pat on the back. You're doing a great job. You're doing awesome, the best you can. And things are going to happen that you're not going to like. Things happen that I'm not going to like. And I say, okay, this is a learning experience for me. This is happening for me. Why? What do I need to learn from this? This is not, and I always say, this is not a failure. I never use the F word. It's not a failure. It's a learning experience. It's a teaching experience.
I love that.
Oh, I should maybe done it that way. Oh, okay, I'll do it better the next time.
Yeah.
But for now, where you are is amazing. And there's a reason you're right here, right now. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Allison. This has been so fun. I really appreciate it.
I do too. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
There are so many takeaways from Lori's inspiring story, such as identifying the needs of students like Craig and taking action to fundraise for essential equipment. Lori has not only transformed Craig's educational experience, but has also paved the way for other schools to implement sensory rooms. Her commitment to supporting Craig's team and addressing identified deficits demonstrates a true dedication to inclusivity. After personally having her mindset refreshed, she developed concepts that incorporate scientifically proven activities to help empower others in their caregiving roles, their relationships, professions, and life in general. Talk about positive activity. With her positive energy, her excitement is palpable when she speaks about spelling to communicate, and how this amazing alternate means of communication is unlocking the ability for nonverbal individuals like Craig to express themselves. Lori's message is clear. Nonverbal children with autism are listening and learning. This breakthrough offers hope and a newfound understanding of their thoughts and preferences, especially if they hate green beans. If you're in the midst of your own caregiving journey and not quite feeling the positivity yet, remember Lori's words that you're doing the best you can and that it's okay to take a break. For more information about Lori's positive activities, be sure to check out her website, positiveactivity.net, and I invite you to check out the resources on alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca or Alongside Caregiver Consulting's Facebook page or Instagram account. If you'd like to share your story as a guest on the Island Treasures podcast, please contact me by email, either through my website or at alongsidecaregiverconsulting@shaw.ca. And thank you for tuning in today. And to Lori Rogers, thank you for sharing your caregiving story and your refreshing positive activities. If you don't want to miss future episodes, be sure to subscribe to the Island Treasures podcast. See you next episode.